Good morning. It is 6:37 a.m. on Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Little bit of a headache this morning. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Changing seasons, maybe. But yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and because the office where I'm working was empty, I went to see Hidden Figures yesterday. And it was really good. I I was I expected it to be good. It's kind of it had a rep for being good, and it just seemed like the kind of movie that I would like, and I was excited to see it, and sure enough, really liked it. Um, it combines a lot of inspiring elements, which is, of course, there's the space program element, the idea, the early space program, and then, of course, the idea of overcoming the adversity of, prejudice in the segregated era, or theoretically the shortly after being segregated era. It was an interesting period where federally segregation had been ended, but individual states were still enforcing it. I'd have to maybe look up the history to know exactly what was the deal there, but that was the impression given. Was like one plot point, in fact, revolves around the state of Virginia basically saying, okay, well, maybe the federal government has ended segregation, but here in Virginia it's still the law of the land. And so the idea of the injustice of that, and all of that, and the idea of needing to overcome uh, that that frustration produces a really great theme in the overall story of someone's got to be the first. Because, of course, the space program element, they're talking about the first person to trying to be the first into space. And technically, John Glenn, who's kind of the focus character from the space program element of this, is not the first man into space, because that's the Russians get Yuri Gagarin into space first, but it's the space race, right? But then also the idea of, well, the first African American woman to become an engineer, first African American supervisor. And, like these things becoming the accomplishments, and the frustration of knowing how much just bullshit people had to go through related to the segregation and the prejudice elements, and just the wondering of, well, it's inspiring and amazing to have people accomplish such great things despite that adversity, but you kind of wonders, like, well, but imagine what they could have done without all that. And so, yeah, the idea of just those things holding people back, and it just being so exhausting that a lot of people would just give up without trying. And the idea of just the unfairness of it, and it's just a great movie. It has great performances. Taraji P. Henson, I think, is the name of the lead. So there's three women that the movie primarily focuses on. There's Catherine, who is like an expert mathematician, but also a little bit shy and socially awkward. We have Dorothy Vaughan, who is kind of doing the work of a supervisor, but her frustration is that, like, the supervisor left their department and she kind of picked up the slack, but then they're saying they don't need to pay her the work, the pay of a supervisor or give her the title, and there's her frustration there. And then also the installation of a new IBM computer is putting her department at risk because most of what they do is manual math calculations, which is of course what the computer is for. And so once the IBM is installed, that will be faster than any human could be. And so the idea of that coming and potentially putting them all out of work is on the horizon. And then another woman named Mary having the aptitude to be an engineer rather than just like an assistant, but the constantly moving goalposts of what she needs to be able to do in order to become an engineer. Sorry, I'm scratching my arm. All three have just a great story, and they complement each other well, and they're friends, and it's just like every aspect of this movie just hits. It's inspiring and frustrating, and makes you angry, and then makes you proud, and it's just great. I really recommend it, and I suspect I think that it probably deserves a bunch of Oscars, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, Hidden Figures, thumbs up. Also, just as a brief side note, they showed a trailer for a movie called A Dog's Purpose before it, and the basic plot seems to be that the same spirit of a dog gets reincarnated multiple times in order to help different owners over the years. And I have no idea how good the movie actually might be, but the trailer made me cry. So there's that. Anyway, talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.